The early 2000s of Disney is sometimes considered as the second dark age of Disney. Many of the films were extremely experimental, some even being revolutionary for the time. But well, sometimes the film's quality was put behind the animation's advancement. As we will see shortly, as today I'm going to be ranking all 11 movies released during this era. And in last place, we have Home on the Range, which I wouldn't be surprised if you're saying, huh? As before making this video, I had never heard of the film before. Despite the movie's budget of $110 million, it flopped. Hard. Only making back $76 million. Ouch! Well, it can't be that bad, right? It is. It is that bad. The movie starts off with a boob job joke, so you know we're in for a good time. The main character is so unlikable. Matter of fact, all the characters are unlikable. The best character is Buck the horse, a ripoff of Marty the zebra, even though the film did come out a year before Madagascar. Honestly, the movie might be solely responsible for the death of 2D animation. If the target audience is the same as Paw Patrol, it's confusing why they shoved in some weird perverted cows. The entire movie feels like a weird dream, and not a good one. Walt is a movie that exists. It's just a really generic superhero movie where the big plot twist is he doesn't have any powers. The plot is a dog is gaslit, word of the year by the way, into believing he's a super dog. So after his owner goes home, Superdog, method actor Jared Leto, escapes to rescue her. But who cares? It's just a boring movie. Feels like a D-tier DreamWorks in the vein of Shark Tale. But Shark Tale, even if it is bad, is at least engaging. This is just a dull movie with its unlikable protagonist, dull color scheme, and generic kids movie jokes. The only thing super about this movie is how super annoying the hamster is. The movie really should have been about the cat, as they were a far more interesting character. Or better yet, not exist at all. Sorry if you like this movie. No, like really, I'm sorry you had to watch this film. Now if you recall my Disney Golden Age ranking, I was not very fond of Fantasia, and I still agree with what I had to say. So I was not excited, to say the least, to be watching the follow-up, Fantasia 2000. And well, is it better? Kinda by default. It's only half the runtime, being only around an hour, opposed to Fantasia's grueling 2 hours. Now I still didn't like 2000. I'm much more indifferent about the experience. I like the Flamingo and Noah's Ark segments. The Sorcerer Apprentice also made a return, which makes sense, considering it was the best segment of the original. There is so much spit in my mouth right now. Next up, we have Brother Bear, a movie I liked quite a bit as a child, but I must have still have this soft spot on my cranium, as this movie is bad. They made the brilliant decision of bringing back Phil Collins, who I still can't forgive after what he did to Tarzan. I also remember liking the Moose as a child, but I can safely say that now I do not. They are just annoying characters who talk way too much and are in the movie for way too long. Kinda like my videos. They have an entire song about how happy they are, with amazing lyrics such as, "We're so happy." The movie actually starts off really good and promising, with the three brothers. It stays good about to the part where the eldest brother dies. But after that, it pretty much loses any serious tone it had, just to become some unfunny and boring kids movie. Kenai also has to be one of the most unlikable protagonists in a movie. And it's really hard to get invested in the story or world when the character you're following is just so unlikable. And I get the character can be flawed and grow throughout the movie, but by the end, I still didn't like or care about him. Part of that is due to the voice, as it's really hard to follow a bear when he's being voiced by Joaquin Phoenix, as the entire time I'm just hearing the Joker's voice. Get what you deserve! Now this next movie might just be the objectively worst movie I've ever seen, but I can't help but enjoy how hilariously awful it is. It really is so bad that it loops around and becomes good. And that movie is Chicken Little. If I could choose one Disney movie to get the live-action treatment, it would be Chicken Little. So I could see these disgusting CGI amalgamations in terrifying 4K detail. It's weird, because the movie has some genuine funny moments.
Prepare to hurt, and I don't mean emotionally like I do. By the way, I'd like to say I've always found you extremely attractive.
Now the first quote of the movie is that Chicken Little wants the approval of his father, so he wants to join the baseball team. Now guess what the plot is? A. About Chicken Little looking for the approval of his father by joining the baseball team, or B, something completely unrelated to anything established in the movie prior. Because it's not about baseball, because after the first 30 minutes, it becomes an alien invasion movie. But if you thought it was about an alien invasion, you would still be wrong, because it's not even a movie. It's a social experiment to see how many pulp culture references and songs they can cram into an animated movie while being meta towards the film industry, yet also doing the exact same thing. There's a part in the movie where the aliens are invading and the end of the world starts playing, and I don't know if this is intentionally or unintentionally funny. I want to give the movie credit, but I don't know because it's Chicken Little, and I can't take anything this movie does seriously, and let alone not some elaborate prank. Mind you, this is the same studio that produced The Lion King. This feels like it was made by the B team of the studio that made Hoodwink. Hoodwink 2, that is. The movie ends with Chicken Little's story getting a remake where the entire story is changed and becomes gritty. I don't know if this is intentionally making fun of itself, also being a complete change of a classic story. Again, I don't know what I'm supposed to think about the Chicken Little movie. I have to say I would rather see a full theatrical film of the gritty Chicken Little than a gritty remake of Buzz Lightyear. Chicken Little is simultaneously the best and worst thing that has ever happened to humanity, and it is either the best or worst thing that has come out of the medium of animation. I'm gonna stop talking about Chicken Little and get on with the list, because I have more than enough to say about the film for an entire video. When I said I was going to make a separate video about Tarzan, and I still am going to, but that is not a priority video. But I need to find an excuse to talk about Chicken Little more. Dinosaur is yet again another movie that I liked a lot as a kid, but this was very partial to me liking dinosaurs. The opening scene with dinosaurs trying to catch the egg is cool, and I even like seeing Aladar with the lemurs up until about when the explosion happens. They even make a joke about one of the lemurs being a swinger. After that, it becomes Death Stranding the video game, as they just walk from point A to point B. I still enjoyed the movie though. Keep in mind I am biased towards dinosaurs. Atlantis. It's a pretty good movie. It's not my favorite by any means, and I doubt I will ever return to the movie. But I can definitely understand others liking it. Milo is a great and likable protagonist, unlike Kenai. The twist villain is actually pretty good, which was nice considering Disney's obsession with making terrible twist villains in the upcoming era. I fully expected there to be a twist villain, as I doubted they would make the Atlanteans the bad guys, but it was surprising that the entire crew betrayed him, even if they did just end up joining his side afterwards. When the commander betrayed Helga, I was expecting to be disappointed she joined the good side, but no, she didn't, which was refreshing. Also, the movie uses some Star Wars level iMovie transitions. Meet the Robinsons is good. It's a pretty clever and heartfelt time travel story. The dinosaur is controlled with a hat, which is a reference to Mario Odyssey, even though the movie came out 10 years before, but they are time travelers anyways. They probably told Disney about the Marty zebra too. Also, the orphanage lady's head looks like Megamind, and this is definitely a reference to Wednesday from the Addams Family. The Robinsons themselves were all a bit quirky for my liking, but the main characters were all likable, especially the bowler hat guy, who looks like Waluigi. Whose reason for hating Lewis is because he was too sleepy to win the baseball game as a child, which sounds an awful lot like me to a Chicken Little reference. And coming in number 3, we have Treasure Planet, which is a lot like Atlantis but better. The main character has dedicated their lives to finding a lost treasure, and the crew betrays them. I think the twist is better though, because the viewer knows long before Jim ever does. It's a really solid movie overall. It's definitely an underrated one too, and I wish it didn't flop so hard at the box office.
You know the rules.
And in number 2, we have Lilo and Stitch, a movie that manages to be fun but also emotional and serious. The watercolor background gives it a timeless feel. I didn't grow up with Lilo and Stitch, but I'm sure if I did, I would have enjoyed it. Also, are we not going to talk about how the sister literally almost kills Stitch? Actually?
Earth is a protected wildlife reserve.
And in number 1, we have one of my favorite movies of all time.
Ha! Boom, baby!
The Emperor's New Groove. This movie, alongside Looney Tunes Back in Action, shaped my humor. I love this movie, and especially all the characters. Kuzco and Kronk are both endlessly quotable. It's a hard movie to talk about, because if I were to tell you all the funny moments, I would just end up showing you the entire movie. The animation might be simplistic, but it uses it to its advantage to create some great action and cartoonish slapstick. I honestly have nothing negative to say about the movie. Watch it if you haven't, because in my opinion, it is the best Disney film of the 2000s. But the real number one is Chicken Little.